just want to thank you for letting me. Hey, everyone, how are you doing? Boy, literally caught me off guard on that one. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. So they tell us, but I'm telling you what, I don't believe that. I don't think any of us know what year this is. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I'll stick by what I believe to be the truth. And what is truth? Subject to one's own voice in one's own head. So welcome everyone. David Barry, how are you doing? I got your email, buddy. Hey, it's cool. I just got backed up. I was out on the weekend, I think there was a song like that. Yeah, I believe I got it going in my head right now. Can everyone hear the Harvest album by Neil Young? Yeah, classic album. It was the first time I had truly fallen in love. And they always say that first love, there's no other love equal to that. And I mean, in my case, regrettably, I think like so many, you don't know how to hold on to that and things. And so love goes on. But anyway, what a way to introduce myself, eh? So welcome everyone. So glad to see you. Maria, Truth Seeker, how are you, my dear? Girl with no name, Spooner, I love it. How are you? Barry, Chad, good to see you. Nancy, hello. Death Raven, how doing? Lois, Warrior Queen, good to see you. Robin, good to see you. In fact, there's two Robins. Caroline, I think I'm going to be over on Caroline's channel tomorrow. I think it's 2:00 my time, chilling with her. She wants to discuss, we're going to be talking about The Arrival. That's a very interesting subject, The Arrival. Enjoyed that movie. The whole pretext of the movie itself was to show how inadequate our level of communication and language is. When you think about it, we've really not progressed all that much in the phonetic alphabet. And in the movie, The Arrival, you begin to see how communication takes place. I mean, I contend we haven't even begun to touch the threshold of what true communication is. So Maria Souza, good to see you. So yeah, Candy, hello. Lost in Space, hello. Electric Tragedy, good afternoon to you too. David Wolf, hello. So all of you, Dwayne Copeland, good to see you, my friend. Lost in Space, hello. Peter, good to see you. Skies Above, hello. Tanis Olson, hello, hello. Boy, just a lot of people in here. Sherry Spears, how are you doing? So good to see you. So let me invoke favor upon us all. Hey, I often say, those who say they have too much favor, I'd say, seriously? But anyway, invoking favor and, overflowing prosperity and complete restoration. Nothing missing, nothing broken in your lives. Yeah, that's what we do here. We invoke, man. Yeah, we invoke. Some people talk about love. We act in love. And I can't think of a greater thing to give a fellow sojourner than the greeting of favor. That's a welcoming approach, and it's a non-threatening one. And I hope everyone feels that way. That's why I do it. Got an update on Patrick. He wrote me an email. Patrick, I owe you an email back on that, my friend. Actually, some good news. Angie is in a better place, a better facility. She will be coming home, and in spite of what the doctors and everyone else is saying, she is making remarkable recovery, has use of back on her hands, I believe. Patrick, tell me if I'm wrong on that, but and she will be coming home. So, folks, you know, whether it be prayer, the voice in your head, telepathic, whatever it is, continue to send them your love, your strength, and your good favor. You invoke your favor upon them. Those of you who say that I have too much favor, well, there's a good place for you to make a deposit right there to Patrick and Angie. Patrick and Angie, we love you both, and we're pulling here. Last Friday, we had Trish on, which Trisha was great. Really enjoyed the conversation. Going to be following up with her. So, very quickly, to tell you how things can change, I get a lot of email updates on business in the industry that I was very much attached to, electronic payment. When you look at all the plethora of mobile apps, I mean, how many apps are there out there, right? Well, I thought this when I get an email on the founders organization. And there is an organization for female founders. And I love this story. I mean, here was a group of young women who looked at the astrology market, and it's a big market, and came up with a very unique design that got them $5 million Series A funding. Wow. This goes to show you what can happen. You know, what's the song? Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're one young at heart. There you go. So believe in your dreams, believe in yourself, and understand doesn't matter what the calendar may say, what your age is or is not. The only thing hindering you is yourself. So go for it. That's what I say. Go for it. Hey, I got my DNA ancestry back. In fact, I was just talking to my brother, half brother, and it's remarkable to see how accurate these things are. And we were comparing results, and it's quite amazing. You can actually see where both parents and with children that are in families that different father, different mothers. It's quite remarkable. So I thought I would share mine for everyone to see, because actually it was kind of surprising. There we go. So as you can see, I used myheritage.com, and I'm 24% English, 22.6 Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and then 53.5% of other. And so I went down and said, all right, so what are we talking about here? And here we go. English, hello to all those who listen over in England and etc. Hello. It looks like that's where my origins come from. Irish, Scottish, and Welsh, who'd have thought? Scandinavian. I had a suspect of that, didn't realize it was that much. And then 18.3% North and West European, which is primarily, in my case, would be more Dutch, German. But the surprising thing was 10.8, percent Italian. Who would have known? Iberian, 3%, wouldn't even thought. As Genazad, Jewish, 0.8%. So yeah, there you go. You know, families have ways of which, they always, you hear it all the time. Well, my family, is such and such, and our heritage goes back way back. But no one ever did the blood test. No one did we didn't have the technology literally until about a decade ago. And now they're getting really good on it. When they start beginning to bring in the mitochondrial DNA, I'll be curious to see. So I don't know how many of you have or have not done this. It is, well, quite surprising for myself. I really did not, I would have never suspected that 25% of my heritage is English. How about that? I was talking to someone earlier and they said, well, you're probably more English than a lot of, English citizens. So go figure. And Irish, Scotch, and Welsh. Who would have thought on that? Goes right in that whole ancestry. And Scandinavian. That was not did not surprise me at all. I found that one to be, I had pretty much knew that. But yeah, so y'all, I don't know if you ever think about having it done. And so this is basically the greater if you add it all to the 100% where it comes from. And you can see South Europe, that's where the Italian comes in. And in the North and West Europe is the English, Scandinavia, and European. So that's where my roots be. And who'd have seriously known? I find it interesting. How do you use this site? It's myheritage.com, and takes about 6 weeks to get it done. But yeah, now we know. Now we know. It's like, oh no. I just did not know that. And when I got the results, I actually got them last night when they came in. And so my wife and I are talking, she should be getting hers in today. And we were both just talking because, perceptions again. Hello, Lori. Good to see you. It's odd. I mean, again, I would have never had thought English. So, well, I guess I'll have a sip of tea then. And now I know why I like cold weather. I for a period of my youth, I grew up in Houston, Texas, Genoa, and then when I was on my own at the age of 15, when the state of Texas and its great wisdom literally put me out on the street at the age of 15. Thank you, state of Texas. But in any case, I have no complaints. It was far out, folks. When my time is done here, I mean, I got no complaints. I mean, to be 15 years old, growing up in the Montrose area in Houston, Texas, where the counterculture was reaching its crescendo, awareness, we were breaking grounds on areas of meditation and becoming much more culturally aware. We were the ones who really started the green movement. I mean, all of this can be traced in those years of 69, 70, 71 too. And to think, I had no parental supervision. None at all. There was no one there to tell me when to go to bed, but then again, I didn't have a bed. But you learn, you learn very quickly. You learn to adapt to your environment, your circumstances, and wow, learned about entrepreneurship. You learn about accounting. You learn about cash flow, money. And all of this was while, I was selling marijuana. That was back in those days. If they found a seed, it'd put your butt in jail for 6 months or longer in the state of Texas. Uh, well, thank you, Joy. It's just been a far out life. I mean, listen, I was 16 and a half years old and lied about my age. And there was a band called Wishbone Ash, and they had opened the bill for Grand Funk Railroad and got to know the band. And long story short, it's how I became a roadie. I didn't have any roots. And wow, all I can say is wow. Yeah, folks, I have one of the questions I had for us is how many memories do you have? Have you ever thought and sat down and started trying to literally list your memories to determine how many you actually have? When was the last time you took an inventory of how exact the number of memories you have? Did you ever think about that? Hey, Kit Next, how you doing? Good to see you. Marguerite, good to see you. So I wonder if anyone could do that. A computer could. A computer, as long as it has access to, memory files. But how about us individually? Yesterday was, as one person wrote me, I got some of the best emails, folks. I just want to thank you. And David Barry, I'll get to yours, my friend. So good part of it is your Welsh. Well, there you go, David. I didn't even know I'm going to have to study a whole new culture. I mean, I didn't know. I have heritage there. Anyway, yesterday's email about voices. Some of the most in-depth emails I have gotten from y'all. Outstanding cognitive reasoning, questioning, thinking. One person wrote, "You completely blew my and mind," in exactly how they wrote it. Another person said, my whole paradigm shifted when I began to even think about associating the voices in my head with hallucinations. And they went on, and it's mind coitus. I mean, that's all I can say. And James did a lot. I mean, I know why the mainstream academics threw his theory out. It's preposterous to even begin to entertain the notion or the thought that all humans suffer from hallucinations. All religions started as a result of hallucinations. All faith in any product, man, monarchy, government, started with a mass hallucination. And the evidence shows it. It's there. We seem to be very susceptible to this. I think I now know why the CIA, since its almost inception, has been focused in on mass hallucinations. Their experiments in the 60s in St. Louis, Cleveland, Ohio, where else? In Atlanta, Georgia. There was one other city in the Southeast where they purposely exposed the citizenry to neurotoxins. Got them high. Mm-hmm. It's rumored that that's where the seed was planted for our acceptance of aliens and UFOs today. What did they find? Well, I don't think we'll ever really find out. But the fact is, we know when we get together in social groups and it's repeated time and time again. Think about, an artist, Mick Jagger, rock and roll, Hollywood, politics. I watched it take place in 2008 right here in Denver. It was the most amazing phenomenon to see. And I'm talking about which was the coronation of Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, it was weird. I had a group of people in my house, and we watched this phenomenon take place. And as you could see, Mile High Stadium that was filled to the rafters, this mass hallucination that swept the audience. It was quite interesting. And when you put it into the context of what we're dealing about individually, it begins to, the problem I have with religion today is that it's too ambiguous. The ambiguity is so overwhelming that the only conclusion can be led to is chaos, confusion. That's why you have over 3,000 separate denominations of one particular religion. All religions are bifurcated. All of them are. And Franny, that's a good question. Do you think the thoughts, these hallucinations elicit catalyze cancers and other disorders? Yes. And I'll tell you, Franny, my proof to you, my dear, is on that. Go and watch television. If you don't have one, go find one that's out there somewhere. Go into a department store and turn on any station. And what you're going to be hallucinating. This is the power of what all hypnosis is predicated on. As James says, the reason why hypnosis works is that you're already primed. Your mind is already speaking, and the hallucination is already in the making. My point to cancers. Today in the United States, Big Pharma so controls the advertising medium, and the advertising medium will not ever turn their back on them, because Big Pharma puts in, last I read, an ad age, I think it was close to $20 billion a year in advertising. $20 billion. Now, I came up through marketing and sales, and what I had to fight for each year was my marketing budget. I had to go before the board and defend those dollars that I knew would be invested for the company and have an ROI back to the bottom line. My point is this: your typical budget in most companies is about 6% of gross sales. So that's considered to be about a medium, back in my day, a healthy marketing budget. Aggressive companies would put it higher, 12, 13, 14%. The point is, if you're putting that kind of dollars, think about what they're making back. And all the commercials that you see from these drug companies, they don't show you the sick people. No. In fact, they invent an hallucination of stories. They'll start showing you stories of a woman who's got cancer, but she's playing a make-believe game with her daughter, fighting pirates. Now, what does this have to do with the fact that what gave her the cancer, and the fact that this drug is never going to cure her of the cancer? It's just going to help her maintain. And the list of diseases go on and on. And what they're doing, the more you're exposed to that, the more the subliminal message works in. So can you say, is that a form of mass hypnosis, an hallucination, a mass hallucination? Yeah, I think so. Yep, you're absolutely right. The US is probably one of the very few. We're suckers. Because we are. I mean, we don't have a government that represents our interests. I'm just going to tell you, that's a joke. But that's the whole point. You know, if you didn't know, for instance, that there was this drug, right? And your thoughts, which all have voices, would never begin to even think about it. Now, James contends that the hallucination is the command obey response. We're going to do a little thing here. I'm going to show you how that works. We all are doing. Look in your relationship. Those of you who are in relationships, think about parent and child. Think about siblings. We work on a basis of command obey. And even if you're by yourself, you still do it. I'll get real here. You have to go use the restroom. You really got to pee. I mean, you have got to pee. But you're on a very important call where you cannot afford to get it. So what's happening inside? Well, you've got a conversation going inside yourself. In fact, it's probably a multiple conversation. We got to pee. We got to pee. I got to pee. I got to pee. No, I got to stay focused on the conversation. No, I got to pee. I got to pee, man. I really got to pee. Man, how long is this going to? You see, is that voice an hallucination? Or is that voice an actuality? Then you start praying. Oh, God, let this get over. God, please let this get over. I can't. God, you just got to help me get through this, That's how it begins. Isn't it not true? I mean, turn on the water and pee. No. Flight risk. We're all hip to that thing. We know. But that's just the point. So from the emails that I got from everyone and reading the comments, I had to come back and kind of make us a little more, let's take a deep breath. And it's just a theory, interesting one, might be right. I mean, maybe franny paleontologists and anthropologists have gotten it all wrong. Maybe they just were going down a trail that was similar, but yeah. And this is what I got from everyone. I just condensed it down. I think there is someone else here besides me, in my head. They talk too. I got to tell you, it was interesting. I got some more I need to answer, but so I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, how many more someone else's are inside of that head of yours? You've heard it's all in your head. How many metaphors have been built on this? How many philosophy discussions have been built upon this? How many? I mean, you can just go right on down the line. Hello, Jerry Rafferty. It's all in your head, man. When I used to drop a lot of LSD, 16, 17, that age group, I didn't have a bad trip. And I've told this story before. I worked at a house. It was open 24/7. I don't know where they got their funding, didn't care. But I many times would take the night shift, from about 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. counseling. I was there as a trained counselor. And there would be people in a very bad place, man, very bad place. And even at that young age, it was taught to us, it's all in your head, baby. Relax. Those things that you're seeing, the way that you're feeling, it's all in your head, sweetheart. You dropped that little tab, and now it's taking you places that you had no idea existed. Oh, that looks scary. It's all in your head. Yeah. The ones that had the most worst trips were the ones that had this. No. Anyway. Isn't this so true? This is from sayingimages.com. I've got 99 problems, and 89 of them are completely made up scenarios in my head that I'm stressing about for absolutely no logical reason. None. All guilty, raise your hand. Come on. Don't you be a liar. Raise your hand. The fact is, the greatest percentages of the worries that an individual has is the voices in their head that keep on telling them of a scenario that doesn't exist, hasn't manifested, but yet you talk to it. Tell me this isn't you. I think too hard and overanalyze everything. And as a result, I created these problems in my head that don't even exist. One of the things when I taught sales to up and coming success stories was that you have a 24/7 movie screen going back at, and how you play the scene is entirely up to you. How do you begin to create the scene? How do you see the scene in mid-scene? And how do you see the scene ending? One of the techniques to tell you is that when you go in, for instance, doing a public presentation, 3,000 people out there, investors, and you have exactly 10 minutes. Each second is precious. The key is you could go out there and say, well, boy, is my presentation going to be good enough for these guys? Or is anyone going to live? No. You see the situation, and what you always do is that you play the ending out first. The beginning and the middle part will fill in. But if you know where your destination is before you begin the journey, you're going to reach it faster. The simple truth. I love this one. I really hate it when the voices in my head argue among themselves as though I wasn't even in the room. I'll paint this scenario, and I'll do it from a professional side. You just lost a major account, and you've got to go in and tell your boss why you lost that account. Trust me on this one. You are going to start having, well, I'm going to tell you what, it's a freaking convention in your head. You're going to be playing out scenarios. I mean, the cast of characters will actually have to hold up cards in order to get a voice in. Then you can take this on to family situations, whatever. The voices in your head are normal. Listening to them, common. Arguing with them, that's totally acceptable. But it's when you lose the argument to the voices in your head, now you've got big problems. How about this one? I hear voices in my head. They counsel me, they understand me, and they talk to me. Yeah, we all do it. Why we get this thing, now there are legitimate brain anomalies that where schizophrenia, it's real. Delusions. I mean, yeah. But that's always to the extreme. The extremes are always on the outside. What we try to do is look for what we call that core balance. I do what the voices in my head tell me. We all do. The whole scenario, I got to pee. You're hungry. You're thirsty. What's going on here? Well, your spirit doesn't care. Your soul, I don't know. I don't think it can be tangibly impacted by moisture being taken in. My mind likes the taste. But the point is, you have a whole conversation, and we all obey the voices in our head. This is from cartoonstock.com. Isn't this true? When you really think about the soul and the spirit, I mean, technically, folks, we're in prison here. We're in prison and we are along for the ride. 3 out of 4 voices in my head want to sleep. The others want to know if the penguins have knees. When you go to sleep at night and you're getting into that rhythm, what kind of conversations are you having? Are they first person, second person, third person? Or are they out there just in the general crowd? And how many weird freaking things can you begin to think about? The mind just seems to meander and wander, and you're going, what? This is from blog.com. The type of voices heard by people who suffer from schizophrenia depends on where they live. Clinical studies show that people who have auditory hallucinations in Africa and in India describe them as positive requests from family members or spirits. But most Americans say they hear violent, torturous, and hateful yelling from strangers. Again, did you know blog.com? This one is, well, folks, it says a lot. Environment, I think, we know, has a great deal to do how an individual forms core beliefs and how that talk is. Now, I had to overcome the years of abuse from my parents. There's a proverb says, bones can be healed. Never break a child's spirit with harsh words. Harsh words create voices in people's heads that last sometimes a whole lifetime. You hear that parent's voice, you'll never amount to anything. You're a worthless piece of shit, and you could just, oh man, I can just go right on down the line. And I wasn't alone. Tens of millions of us. And then regrettably, so many are still passing that on. The voices in our head. Sometimes I question my sanity, but the voices in my head tell me I'm fine. Think about it. When you're making a key decision, a life impacting decision, you'll even question your sanity. Normal. It's normal to say, I hear voices. The creative mind is nothing more than the unleashing of many voices. Voices that most can't hear. That's why they don't create. Voices that most can't comprehend. That's why they don't paint. Most voices that they can never apprehend. And they never celebrate those voices. I hate it when the voices in my head go silent. I never know what they're planning. Shh. Well, the voices in my head will begin to shout. I have a voice that is my savior, hates to love and loves to hate. I have the voice that has knowledge and the power to rule your fate. And that's part of Jane's theories of the bicameral mind. Command, obey. And if you have, for instance, a monarchy, power structure, the king, queen, word. Can you imagine this now? How many times has this played out in history? Where the king or queen are just batshit crazy. Didn't matter. The voices they heard in their head just ruled your fate. Sometimes I question my sanity, but the clowns and the penguins told me I'm fine. It was easy to ignore the voices in my head until they started making sense. I have to listen. This one I absolutely have lived. When you write, where is those voices coming from? When you're developing characters, as writers and authors out there, I think you will agree with me. You assign a voice to them. And once you name something, then you begin to build a personality. The voices in your head are not one, but many. How many emotions do you experience in a day? Can you count them? Would you agree that every emotion has a different voice? Maybe your voice, but it's a different voice. When you're happy, you have a different voice than when you're angry. You have a different voice when you're sad. You have a different voice when you're truly joyful. They say that the epitome of joy is when you can no longer express it with a voice by words. I don't know. The voices in my head have voices in their heads. Now, that's something we need to be concerned about. I have no doubt. I mean, if future thoughts are yet to be written from the individual's perception of their existence, then the voices would have to be many in order for there to be one singular voice that is yet to be spoken in a distant future. Yours. I can cope with the voices in my head, but the voices outside my head drive me crazy. How many of us have been in meetings where you've got that one person that drives you crazy? They're the ones that never seem to know when enough is enough. They never got the memo that sometimes less is more. Don't know. The voices are back. Excellent. I mean, I have been in droughts. I mean, when I used to write business plans. Business plans are more complicated than any schematic that I've drawn. But the voices always help. Let me tell you exactly what I mean here. Let's say you're working in an Excel spreadsheet, and so you're taking, the projections that is in the business plan anyway, and you're putting this and you put it in an Excel, and all of a sudden you get this voice, I'm hungry. What? Got things I have to do. No, I'm really hungry. What? And eventually that small voice becomes the main voice. I only do what the voice in my wife's head tells her to do, that tells me to do. That's the safe way, guys. So when you look at this, I thought that this was a perfect representation. Isn't it like when a thought is first given birth and it really becomes focused? There are many thoughts that go to the abyss. They go to the nothingness. They die a death of that. It was just like that, and then it's gone. But it's like encountering a maze. Who is the voice? You hear different voices because different thoughts are in different part of the maze. It makes sense, doesn't it? So I thought I would just share that. It was, a little light humor that, helps us to make this in perspective. And it's completely normal. Listen, I enjoy hearing from source. I enjoy hearing if intelligence exists at all, and consciousness is in fact a truth, and if the both can transcend death, then there would have to be voices outside. Yes, it is, Franny. It is. It's just a fact. Do I think that James had some ideas? Yeah, we're going to talk more about them. I think they're interesting. But I think also that James, he realized too that, if you believe that there's this intelligence that permeates everything, well, do you know that psychologists have a malady for that? It's a disorder. I mean, think about how many CEOs get the God complex. Look, how many politicians? I mean, you can just go right on. Why did I say CEOs? Thank you. So it's all right, folks. Listen to the voices. Engage them in conversation. Just don't lose the argument to them. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, remember, they're occupying the penthouse. And if they're in the penthouse, make sure you charge them appropriately. So real quick, folks, I want to go through some headlines here, something for us to look down the road on. There's something happening in China, folks. And if this is the progenitor of something that, if it gets out of hands, folks, and it makes the jump, yeah, you don't want these type of influenzas to get out of hand. But this one here, I'm just giving you a heads up on it. Check it out. I've been telling you this time and time again. Our species has got to wake up. global attention span is narrowing. I mean, folks, we're down now to a minute is too long. You know, it's like you got to have it right now. 10 seconds is apparently a challenge for many. I wanted to bring this out real quick. Stephen Hawking's predictions. He had a few thoughts before he left. And, well, you know, if there was one man who had plenty voices in his head, had plenty time to talk to those voices, this is one of them. So here's 3 creepy predictions that Hawking's made. The reality of aliens. One of the many Hawking's predictions that are pretty weird, but the danger of aliens approaching and interacting with humans was one of Hawking's common concerns. He was fascinated by extraterrestrial life. In 2010, in a documentary, Into the Universe, explains his belief. Hawking's believed that if aliens are advanced enough to reach us, they may possibly be hostile. Hawking's peers do not share all of his views, however. They argue that interstellar space travel alone is really difficult to do. Also, his peers believe that any beacon sent out for as long as radio transmissions leaked out from our planet would have been heard and answered by now. So obviously, they would not have found us. Don't know. Do UFOs exist? I mean, there's certain scientific communities, mainstream science, that tells you there's absolutely no evidence of any extraterrestrial life. None. You can give them all the drawings, all the pictographs, hieroglyphs, etc., and all they'll tell you is those are pretty pictures. Show us the proof. AI, yay or nay? As AI permeates more of our daily lives, it is clear to see how it can make an impact. No kidding. However, whilst many of us are busy embracing the technology, another one of many Stephen Hawking's predictions is based upon the overall fear of a robot takeover. His particular concern was the very distinct possibility of a potential power of modern advancing technology. Hawking's made a striking comment about artificial intelligence, saying it might just take over. He thinks technology is underestimated greatly. Although Hawkins does not think AI is a threat to humanity, which I do, he doesn't have a timeline in mind for this disaster. Is the end of the world? Is there an end of the world? The next prediction from Hawkins is about an asteroid strike. If other things don't manage to kill us, then maybe this one will. His main driving reason is that there are just too many of us on Earth and something has to balance the situation. That's a whole hour right there. Hawkins was more than aware of how badly we are draining all of our physical resources. He just simply says that we're either going to kill us ourselves, or the inevitability of the universe is that they're going to come out and get us. Check this out. So in the Arctic tundra, Siberia, etc., the permafrost is evaporating, warming up. And they're saying that we could begin to see dust storms. And if these dust storms, in fact, do materialize, they're bringing some very old bacteria, anthrax. I'm really just loading this up. How about this one? AI has developed a whole new sport. Command, obey. Command, obey. And guess what? Humans are playing it. I'm just saying. The future human brain cloud interface will give people instant access to vast knowledge via thought alone. I wanted to bring this is in medicalpress.com. This is a story, folks. When I read it, there would basically be no need for school. None. You'll hook up to it. Yeah. Scientists say our brains will connect to computers within the decade to form an internet of thoughts that will provide instant access to information. Two of the stories back to back. Thoughts. How many voices will we start hearing on this one? This is to my good friend Patrick and the Talk to the Planet series. You know, Saturn told us things are going on there, and it looks like we're now finding, get this, we're exploring the aspect of different life forms. A life form that would be, number one, based on methane. And then finally, to show you how the world turns, folks, this one here is very interesting. So they found these pygmy rattlesnakes indigenous to the Florida eagle, and they found these blood-sucking worms. Here they are. Now, they're now infesting the natural reptilians here, and guess where it came from? Asia. Altering the ego environment all the way across. So there you go, folks. Is that well-rounded? I mean, nothing on this episode could you say was of a same topic. But actually it is when you stop and think about it, because it's all about thought. My thoughts, your thoughts, her thoughts. Hello, Patrick. How are you? Who are you talking to, Patrick? I don't know who that was, my friend. So anyway, so good to see you. It's always a delight to see you, Patrick. So thoughts. Thoughts. It's all thoughts. I mean, if you hold a grudge, isn't that a different voice than a voice that says, oh, forget the guy. Give him a break. Instead of I'm going to track him down until, what was it, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan? I'll stab at thy heart into, what is it that Ricardo Montalban said? Anyway, all the voices, folks. So tomorrow, we were going to have Nancy on. I don't know if we're going to do that or not. I think it's going to be pushed to next week. And in any case, this is going to be an interesting show. I talked with an email with Karen, Queen of Quartz. We're going to have her on. And so I'm looking forward to that. Julie, thank you for the crystals, my dear. Hang them proudly on there. And anyway, there we go. I had a great time today. I hope you did too. We're still exploring. How many memories do you have, folks? Corinthian leather. Yes, Truth Seeker, you got it. Absolutely. Isn't that something to be known for? I always also remember Fantasy Island, you know. Now that was a strange show. I mean, you got to admit some of the television series of the past, I mean, those people had to be on drugs. I mean, I don't know. I'd love to find that Fantasy Island. I'm still looking for it, isn't it? Well, folks, this has been a fun one. I love you. You know, I say that, you know, in the pretense that it's a universal feeling of warmth, compassion, companionship, and what a great time. You know, it's like coming together for an hour and just having this great, you know, communal get together, you know, have our tea. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. David, thank you. The plane, the plane. Some strange, strange things we've grown up in. And is it any mystery as to why things are so weird? Think about how we grew up. They were putting crap in our heads that, hey, talk about voices. I mean, they were putting the voices in our head. And look at us today. I still say there's hope. I think there is always hope. So, all right, folks, be good to yourselves. You look beautiful today, you know. Hug yourself. Nothing wrong with that. Give yourself a hug. And, you know, listen, there's only one of you. You're here for the experience. No, and it's an experience. Experiences are good and bad. Why do you think we have amusement parks? How many of you like roller coasters? I don't mind roller coasters. I don't like the ones that do the spirals and the upside downs. But then again, I didn't like that damn thing that you got into and the centrifugal force, you know, and the bottom would lay out and you're plastered against the wall. I didn't like that one too much either. So, all right, folks, be good to yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for your time. And hey, it's on experience.